Welcome to this explainer brought to you by Forge College. So let's just dive right into this because today is a massive day. It's officially launch day for our master engineered smart contract vault. This is the capstone for our comprehensive access control system module. We've spent time designing, coding, and testing, and now we're looking at the final, ultimate blueprint. We're going to take absolutely everything we've learned about access control and actually build, deploy, and validate a rock-solid, production-ready contract. You might be wondering, why is this so critical? Well, in Web3, a single access control flaw can, and honestly routinely does, lead to millions of dollars permanently drained by attackers in literally a matter of seconds. Smart contracts are immutable public vaults. That means our lock system has to be completely flawless before we deploy. So grab your hard hats, pun absolutely intended, and let's get to work.
Here is the agenda for today's assembly. 1. The ultimate vault blueprint. 2. Assembling the smart contract. 3. The launch sequence initiated. 4. The deployment checklist. 5. Testing the defenses. And finally, 6. Mission accomplished. Section 1. The ultimate vault blueprint. Okay, we are building our foundation using 3 core artifacts right from our previous lesson on testing and hardening integration to form the unshakable base of this capstone deliverable. First up, we've got the architecture and integration document. Think of this as our canonical spec, laying out our whole system diagram and role matrix. Second, we have the implemented contract modules themselves, the actual Solidity code. And third, our testing and hardening notes. Now, these testing notes are absolutely vital because they include our static analysis output and our known edge case test vectors. Without static analysis, hidden vulnerabilities could easily slip into production completely unnoticed. And without edge case testing, well, we wouldn't have any idea how the contract behaves under extreme or unexpected conditions. We aren't just starting from scratch today, we're synthesizing these verified, battle-tested pieces into one cohesive, impenetrable unit. Section 2. Assembling the smart contract. First up on our assembly line is the Ownable module. You can really think of Ownable as the absolute boss of the contract. This module wields the master key that literally no one else can duplicate. When we attach this to our contract, we're establishing a very clear line of ultimate authority. It's the ultimate backstage pass. If a function is tagged with this modifier, the contract essentially asks, are you the boss? And if not, you are immediately shown the door. No exceptions. In real-world use cases, this master key is incredibly powerful. The boss uses it to upgrade the contract logic if a flaw is found, or, to trigger emergency withdrawals of funds to a secure wallet. Because of this massive power, the master key has to be heavily protected, and it's usually held by a multi-signature wallet rather than just a single individual. Next, we weld on the Pausable module. I honestly love this one because it's just so dramatic. Pausable is the giant red panic button of your smart contract, the in case of emergency break glass protocol. If things get dicey, if there's unexpected market volatility, or if a zero-day vulnerability is suddenly discovered out in the wild, this button can be slammed. Instantly, all critical, state-changing functions are frozen in their tracks. It buys you the single most valuable asset in Web3 security, time. Typically, the ability to press this panic button is granted either to the owner or a dedicated security council, which is a specialized group of monitors whose sole job is to watch for anomalies and freeze the system before any funds are actually lost.
Finally, we integrate access control. Imagine access control as a giant, unyielding bouncer standing right at the door of your contract. But this bouncer doesn't just check if you're generally on the list. They have a highly granular, extremely strict VIP clipboard. They are meticulously checking a role matrix before allowing any specific function calls. Want to execute a sensitive action? The bouncer checks if you specifically hold the operator role. It's not just about being an admin, it's about having the exact right clearance for the exact right job. To put that into perspective, let's say you have another function for creating new tokens. The bouncer will check for a totally different role, say a mentor role. If you have the operator role but not the mentor role, you still get rejected. It is precise, surgical security. Now, before we lock this blueprint permanently, we have to apply our critical hardening touches. First, we tighten the visibility of our functions so nothing is accidentally exposed to the outside world. We add explicit error strings, so if a transaction reverts, we know exactly why, saving developers hours of painful debugging. We also carefully minimize external calls inside our modifiers. Why is this so absolutely crucial? Because making external calls to untrusted contracts can open the door to re-entrancy attacks, where an attacker tricks the contract into repeatedly calling a function before the original execution finishes, potentially draining funds. Keeping modifiers lean and internal closes that door completely.
And very importantly, we ensure events are emitted on any sensitive state changes so our off-chain monitors know exactly what's happening in real time. This right here is what separates a prototype from a true production-grade vault. Section 3. The launch sequence initiated. To get our launch sequence as robust and modern as possible, we're going to do a little bit of what I playfully like to call vibe coding. We can use an AI prompt, exactly like the one quoted here, to refine our deployment script. We're asking it to ensure reliable role assignments, add retries just in case the network gets glitchy, log all our transaction hashes, and neatly package everything into a JSON artifact. Actually, it's more like having an incredibly fast copilot double-checking our flight systems right before we press the launch button. Our Hardhat script executes a clean, highly automated flow. First, it obtains the contract factory, which is basically grabbing the blueprint we just finalized and getting it ready for the Ethereum virtual machine. Second, it deploys via a deterministic account, ensuring our deployments are perfectly reproducible across different environments. Third, it waits for the network to actually confirm the deployment. We don't just throw code into the void and hope it sticks. No way. We demand cryptographically secure proof that it landed successfully. And finally, it prints out the resulting live address and the metadata, which we will absolutely need for our front-end interfaces and for Block Explorer verification. Section 4. The deployment checklist. All right, a master builder never launches without a rigorous checklist. We're now looking at our strict acceptance criteria matrix. Every single row here must be rigorously tested to achieve a pass. We need to prove the deploy was successful by recording the addresses. We need to prove that owner-only functions actually revert when called by a non-owner. We must verify that when the pause button is hit by the owner, protected operations are successfully blocked. And we have to confirm that role-based controls are strictly enforced. We don't guess in Web3, we verify. To do this, we don't just click buttons manually. We use automated testing libraries like Chai and Mocha within our Hardhat environment. These tools programmatically simulate the network, impersonate different accounts, and mathematically assert that every single function behaves exactly as designed before real money ever touches the code. Section 5. Testing the defenses. Now that we're deployed, let's run the live system diagnostics and test our newly installed locks. Let's look at our first live test, comparing a pass versus a fail scenario with our Pausable module. Over on the pass side, the designated boss, using the master key, successfully triggers an unpause, bringing the system back online. On the fail side, which, by the way, is exactly what we want to happen, an unauthorized user tries to sneak in and hit the pause button, and they get immediately shut down and rejected by the system. The boss has the power, everyone else hits a brick wall. Next up, we test our AccessControl bouncer. For our pass scenario, a smooth entry. A user holding the valid operator role executes a sensitive action, and the contract processes it perfectly. For our fail scenario, a random non-operator tries to call that exact same sensitive action, and the transaction reverts instantly. The bouncer checks the clipboard, sees you don't have the operator role, and kicks the transaction right out. Our defenses are holding strong exactly as designed. Section 6. Mission accomplished. With our checks completely passed, we can confidently stamp this blueprint verified and look at the big picture. Here are the core takeaways of our entire Capstone increment. First, we enforce layered access controls. By combining Ownable, Pausable, and AccessControl, we've drastically reduced single points of failure. Second, we guarantee reproducible deployments using our deterministic scripts, meaning we can deploy this exactly the same way every single time. And third, we ensure strict auditability by publishing our verification metadata and transaction hashes. So what does auditability truly mean for end users? It means radical transparency. Anyone interacting with our decentralized app doesn't have to blindly trust us. They can independently verify the source code, check exactly who holds the master keys, and confirm the exact rules the bouncer is enforcing. It turns trust into mathematically verifiable truth. But before we wrap up this module, I want to leave you with a provocative thought. We just built the absolute ultimate contract-level security. But is there a better way for users to actually interact with it? The user experience of managing all these different keys and roles can get incredibly complex, sometimes alienating the very people we want to use our system. That question leads us perfectly into our next module, Smart Wallet Patterns, where we'll explore how to balance this ironclad contract security with seamless user experience, all as part of our broader Applied Solidity development track. I really want to thank you for joining me for this explainer brought to you by Forge College. To dive deeper into smart wallet patterns and to continue your Web3 journey, be sure to visit forge.college. Keep building, keep verifying, and I'll see you in the next one.